Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio. Today I'm sharing with you my art journal page that I made for Mike Deacon Art's Mission Inspiration for February. And it starts out using texture paste. So I decided to use Deco Art's, Crackle paste, and just apply it with a palette knife. Trying to make kind of a vignette. It turns out that this whole step pretty much gets obliterated. That's what happens with these step by step things. Sometimes something goes wrong, and yeah. Anyway, this page is a little bit of a hot mess, and it definitely has one of those ugly stages. But I think it's okay in the end. It's abstract and loose, not as fussy as I usually make things. So I'm just applying that with the palette knife and letting it dry. And so I went on and did some other stuff, and then I came back and that was what it looked like. The next thing was to add color with paint or spray. Now Mike has a color palette option on these. He's cut it down to 8 steps. He's got some words to inspire you and then also a color palette. So I decided to just go with his color palette because I didn't have any plan at all. So I got out some of the matte sprays from Tattered Angels. These are called baseboard, and they're the ones that don't have any shimmer in them. I recently got quite a few bottles of them. Sometimes you don't want shimmer. Sometimes you want matte, I mean, I know that's crazy, but it could happen. So I'm going with his red, teal, black color combination. And the paper is watercolor paper, which I did not put any gesso on. So that was my first thing, is I didn't put any gesso on. Then I put that medium around the edges, which sealed the edges of the paper, but the section in the center is not sealed. And so when I put the sprays on, it soaks right into that paper. So I end up with this weird, like, crackly light stuff on the edges and dark in the middle. And that was not at all what I intended. It was a learning experience. So were I to do this page over, which obviously I'm not going to do it over, but if I was going to, I would put gesso on first. You have to think about the paper and how the paper reacts to what type of medium you're putting on. These sprays are basically a watercolor. They're water-soluble paint that's in a spray. And watercolor paper is designed to soak things up because you're supposed to use watercolors on it. So yeah, it soaks things up. You can see in the middle. But if you have a sealed area, then it doesn't. So that's what happened here. That's what happened to my background. Not a big fan of it. I decided to use my small brayer and just kind of grunge it up a little bit and make this more, I don't know, I guess grungy is the right word, by just going over it with some gesso. And that helps even everything out because I had these really light on the edges and really dark in the middle, which I didn't like. The next step was to glue fragments of either book or music text. I decided to use this tissue paper that I have that's printed with music and just some little pieces of that. Wasn't sure where I was going with it. This is just literally just play. I'm just playing, and I don't have a plan. I don't have anything even anywhere near a plan. Like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with this page, especially since the background got so weird, and I was just like, grr, should I just start over? But no, you don't start over. You just keep going. You keep going because this is an art journal. It's just paint. It's just paper. It's in a book. It's not the Mona Lisa. You just keep playing with it and messing around. And I took a couple days off because I wasn't feeling well. I have bronchitis. And so I laid in bed for 2 days, and this is my first day back trying to make something. And you know how that is. Sometimes it doesn't work. So the next thing was to glue patterned paper shapes. So I got out this paper pad because I knew that it had black, red, and teal in it, which was my color combination chosen by Mike. So I grabbed a few little pieces of paper out of it. It came from Walmart. I've had it forever, but I knew it had the right colors. And then I cut some of the papers out into oval shapes using my Big Shot die cutting machine. And then some of them I'm punching with these circle punches just to get my shapes, because it does say glue pattern paper shapes. So I decided to make them circles and ovals, which kind of go together. So once I'm done getting everything cut out, then I just lay them out, and I'm just I'm trying to make something pleasing to my eye. It's very abstract. It doesn't really mean anything. These aren't supposed to be anything like balloons or bubbles or anything. They're just random pattern shapes. Random. And because this paper is a little bit heavier and I have some pretty large shapes, I'm going to attach it using some matte gel medium. That's thicker stuff. I actually guess that's all I used on this one. I didn't use the thinner stuff at all. My matte fluid medium is about empty, so I have to get some more. A good little tip, if you really want to keep the same exact pattern as you had laid down and you were happy with, is to take a picture of it with your phone. But since I use my phone to film, I can't take a picture. So it didn't come out exactly the same, because I move them and then I put them back on, and then they don't come out exactly the same. Some of them I think I flipped them over. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was random and just a little something to put on there because it said to, because the step said to. And the steps are the boss. So then I gave that a really good dry, but of course I won't make you watch the whole thing. The next thing was to add hand journaling, scribbling, or quotes. I decided to just scribble. I didn't really have a quote. I didn't even still don't have an idea in mind of what I'm making here. No idea, just messing around. So I am using something that I just recently got, which is called a China marker or China pencil. It's kind of a waxy, strange little pencil, and I've been playing around with it lately. I've been doing the 29 faces with the owl art, and she uses one of these quite often on her faces. So I decided to just get one from Amazon and give it a try. So the next thing was to add a focal image, and since I have been doing all these faces lately, and I'm really behind in faces because I took a couple days off, I'm really behind, but I decided to draw a face. I figured that area in the middle, I could just make it look like the girl was peeking out from behind those shapes. Maybe they are some sort of party decorations and she's popping out from me. I don't know. I was winging it, completely winging it. So instead of doing my usual fussy drawing and fussy, I just used that China marker to just draw the girl as well. Usually I would use a pencil and then I'd go over it with a permanent marker. You guys have all seen me do this, but I just decided I was playing. I wasn't going to be fussing about how this turned out. I already didn't like the background, so I just decided to go for it. You just got to go for it. Just go for it. So that's what I did. Then I got out some white gesso so that I could lighten up that area where her face is going to be, because I didn't want to leave it that dark with those really dark colors in the background coming through. So white gesso, a couple coats of it with a brush, and then with the excess gesso I ran around the edges and kind of made a little bit of a border because I had extra gesso, so I just decided to do that with it. I don't know why. I had drawn those scribbly lines and it just kind of reminded me of a border, so I painted on the outside of the border. Just because I could. That's why. The fun of it is just doing it, following the directions. and doing it step by step. So then, of course, I had to dry this, and there you go, drying it. Then I got out my Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons to add some color, and just scribbling them right onto the paper, and then blending, you know, activating them and blending them out with some water on a brush, and sometimes a little bit of that gesso blended in if I want to lighten a spot. Sometimes I do it this way, directly onto the paper. Sometimes I scribble onto the scratch paper and pick up the color. Sometimes I take the color right off the end of the crayon. Just, however I feel like doing it. Adding a little bit of shading. This process takes some time, but it's a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody else is doing the 29 faces, but you sure do get a lot of practice with doing 29 faces. Even if you're like, oh, what am I, 4 behind now? I've been doing mine on shipping tags and making a little flip book out of it, but I do need to catch up. I think I definitely overcommitted myself to things this month. Wait, just this month? No, every month. I do that every month. So since the colors were teal and red and black, I decided to make her hair shades of teal. Teals and turquoises. And that was my mom. She came in and asked me about my 28 hearts, which she wanted to see, so it went across the desk a couple times there. I don't think you saw her hands, but you did see the piece of paper, probably. People just come in, they talk to me. That's one of the reasons that I do voiceovers, because then I can just get rid of the track that's on there, the sound that's on there, and talk over it, because I'm constantly getting interrupted by people. Then I added some of that red to her cheeks, to bring in the red. I made her have very rosy cheeks. She almost looks like a clown. I don't know. And then I come back in with the China marker and add the details back in. I can still see them through the gesso. I don't know if you guys can. Yeah, you can. So just going back over them again. It's kind of a fun little thing. It's kind of like a crayon. Gives you a very loose, scribbly kind of a look. You can also blend it. It's waxy, so you can blend it with your finger. You can blend it with the blending stump. It's kind of fun. Kind of a fun, different thing that I haven't had before. And inexpensive, so you can get one on Amazon really cheap. I think I actually ended up getting a box of them, so I'll probably give away some of them because I probably do not need a dozen China markers. Can't imagine that I would ever use up a dozen of them, but maybe if I really get into it, I'll just start going through them like crazy. Who knows? But that probably won't happen because I love my Posca pins and my Faber-Castell illustration pins, my Pitt pins. And there I'm kind of just blending things with my finger. That's why I was saying you can blend it. You can smear it kind of. Just for fun. Adding in a little bit more shading, adding in her eyeballs. I made the eyeballs teal as well since I was sticking with the 3-color scheme as much as possible. Some of that paper has a little bit of green on it, but it blends in with the teal, so it's fine. I did end up adding one more thing on here. I added the word shine because I didn't realize until after I was done and had turned everything off that that big blue oval on the top of her head really looks weird. That was bothering me, so I just put a word across it to kind of camouflage the weirdness of it. So I'm getting pretty close to being done with the face now. That was the thing that took the most time on this page. Everything else was pretty quick. Probably could have made a 10-minute video if I hadn't made a face. So the next step was to add washi tape. So I get down my washi tape baskets off my shelf and pick out some red and white striped, some teal, some red narrow, and then I think the other one has got little diamond shapes on it in black and white. And just add them. I mean, they really don't add much of anything except for just more pattern. I guess having the straight lines kind of offsets from having all those curvy lines and gives you more visual interest. Yeah, that's the diamond tape. It's really narrow tape with diamonds on it. I think somebody sent it to me. I can't remember who though, but it's a skinny one. Those other skinny ones I got from China. And there I'm just trimming off the edges. So then the next and last step is to splatter with paint or gesso. So I get out some of my high flow paints in carbon black and titanium white and just add a bunch of splatters. Splatter, 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 splatters. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment so I know you were here. Subscribe if you haven't already, and you can turn on that little bell looking thing and you'll get notifications of every time I upload a video, which is usually every other day. And thanks to Mike for having these challenges. Be sure to watch this Friday for the Pick-a-Stick challenges, which is a similar type of a thing. That is my group on Facebook with my friends. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.